everybody, and welcome to our True Image YouTube channel. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about relationships with our family and with our friends. So I'm excited, so we're going to go ahead and dive on in, and we'll pray at the end. So over in Psalm 68:6, it says that God sets the lonely in families. Listen, not one person on this planet was created or meant to do life alone. Life is too hard to do it by yourself. Life can be so complicated. Life can be so messy. Life is unpredictable. Life is life. I remember talking to a girl one time and I was like, well, how's everything going? She's like, it's just life. Just life. And that's all she would say. And I would joke with her. I'm like, well, can you get specific? She's like, girl, no, just that one word, life, just encompasses everything and all of its craziness. And I think, sometimes we feel like we have to live life on our own because we don't feel like no one can understand us or no one can relate to us. And obviously the number one relationship that we can relate to us and we can talk to that is so constant, that loves us no matter what, is our relationship with the Lord. And we talked about that last week, that is our most important relationship you and I can ever have. But then there's also relationships of family and relationships with friends, with people. God designed relationships to help us live for Him. I live for God by myself because it's my decision. I choose to live for the Lord. But life is so much more fulfilling when I have family and I even have friends that we can serve God and live for God together, that we can build a part of God's kingdom here on earth. I think about this with family and with friends. Here we are, we have, heaven and we have earth, that we're on this earth and we are here for a purpose. We're not here just to be here. And I think about that God, wherever you are, I'm in Shreveport, God placed me through a mother who could have had an abortion, but she chose not to. She gave me up for adoption. So God places me in this situation with my family at the same time. Well, before me, my brother was placed from another woman with my mom and dad. Then there I came. Then my sister, Lainey, who was also adopted, that God brought her to be part of our family as well. So God brought all these women from wherever they were, brought them to be able to have us and for my parents to adopt us and to be here in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I've had people ask me, do you think you'll ever move? You think you'll ever leave? I know that I am called to Shreveport, Louisiana. And so part of my fulfillment and my calling is to make God's dream come true here where I am in my family, in my church, in my sphere of influence, is that God's given me a piece of heaven on earth, and it's my responsibility to work, to toil, to sow, to water, to reap, whatever it is that God has for me. And God's given me this plot of land, if you will, to nurture, to grow, to raise a family of my own one day, and to do all these things, but for His kingdom and for His purposes. And so when you think about this, I can't do what I do by myself, and you can't do what God's called you to do by yourself. And so understand that God strategically placed you right where you are on purpose and for a purpose, and it is for His kingdom. I think sometimes we get so busy with life and so busy working and serving and doing and going and not realizing, hey, God has given us a piece of His kingdom of heaven on earth for us to work, for us to harvest, for us to plant things, for us to grow things. And sometimes it also means for us to uproot things as well. And so know that God designed us in our places, in our families, and He placed, friends, godly friends around us to help us build His kingdom. And another point is relationships are going to take work. I've been in relationships that were very much more one-sided, and those relationships I don't really have anymore. And it's important that you understand that if this person that you're in relationship with, whether family or friend, that you love them enough that it's gonna work. Relationship's gonna be messy. You're gonna deal with things you're not gonna want to deal with, but because you love that person so much, it's I'm going to work through whatever. And I understand sometimes we get to this deal of, okay, well, I'm going to work through whatever just because I want to have this person in my life. But you go so far that way, that can also lead to unhealthy things, to toxic relationships, unhealthy relationships, dysfunctional relationships. And I've been there. I've had dysfunctional relationships, not just in dating. I've had them with family. I've had them with friends. They just weren't healthy relationships for me, but I was so afraid of them not liking me or me completely letting them go. I was so afraid to let certain people go that I just kept holding on to them. And so it's important that we also have to learn about boundaries and learning about, okay, well, this relationship isn't healthy. This relationship isn't producing any good fruit. I've been around people before, and some of my real close friends would tell me, I don't like how you are around this person. You're not yourself. When I would date a guy, I don't like how you are. You're not yourself. And I'm thankful now. It took me a while to break off those things and to get out of those relationships because of me being stubborn and not wanting to let go. But I was thankful that I had family and friends who were willing to tell me what I needed to hear and not necessarily what I wanted to hear, because I knew that they really, truly loved me. Over in Joshua chapter 24:15, it talks about that you're going to choose this day who you're going to serve. Either you'll serve God or you won't. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. And I think part of building a family, a strong family unit is as a husband, as a wife, as a daughter, as a son, aunt, uncle, cousin, wherever you are, is that I know not all families, they're all Christians, but I have seen people that have chosen that, you know what, I'm going to choose to live for God. And it's caused some kind of rifts and some kind of awkwardness with families. But I've seen these girls and even guys make up their minds and their hearts, I'm going to live for God regardless. And it's cool how as they continue to live for the Lord, how then their families begin to see a change in them. It's like, what is going on with you? And it's an opportunity for them to witness to their family members. And so I understand that not all family members, are living for God. And but I do believe that that as an individual, as a family, you decide, am I going to choose to serve God? Not just this day, but God, every day when I get up, you and I, we make that decision. God, I'm going to live for you. I'm going to serve you. Help me be everything you've called me to be. Help me do everything you've called me to do. And just make up your mind. And as a family, and if you do that, your kids, your nieces, your nephews, whoever, they'll begin to see, oh, that's what a Christian is supposed to look like. And so I just want to encourage you with that. Over in Mark chapter 12, verse 28 through 31, the disciples are asking Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus said that you would love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and that you'll love your neighbor as yourself. Number one, obviously love the Lord. Number two, love your neighbor as yourself. A lot of people don't like themselves, so they're sure not going to love themselves. And I have found when I'm having a bad day or my perception of myself is jaded or it's skewed or I'm looking through things through an offended lens or bitterness, whatever, if I stay in that place for too long, my relationships will begin to get dysfunctional because I can't freely love other people and give that love to people and show people love if I don't love myself. And we can't give people what we do not have. And I've seen this happen in my own life. I've seen it happen in other people's, with your family or with your friends, that there's so much dysfunction. And I have been the cause of dysfunction in family and in friendships. And it's been the other way around where I wasn't the cause of dysfunction. But I have found that if I can't truly love myself through Jesus and letting Jesus, in and letting him helping me, allowing him to help me see myself the way he sees me, I'm going to have a really hard time loving people because I don't understand it, that love for myself. And so it's important that if you're going to love other people, family or friends, you're going to have to learn to love yourself and see yourself the way the Lord does. Over in 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 18, I'm reading out of the Message translation. It says, "Don't become partners with those who reject God. How can you make a partnership out of right and wrong? That's not partnership, that's war. Is light best friends with dark? Does Christ go strolling with the devil? Do trust and mistrust hold hands? Who would think of setting up pagan idols in God's holy temple? But that is exactly what we are. Each of us a temple in whom God lives. God himself put it this way: I'll live with them, move into them, I'll be their God, and they'll be my people. So leave the corruption and compromise, leave it for good, says God. Don't link up with those who pollute you. I want you offer myself. I'll be a father to you, and you'll be sons and daughters to me. You know, I've seen this a lot too with people that might not have a mom or a dad in certain areas of their life. Sometimes we have parents that are there physically, but they're not there for us emotionally or spiritually, or we don't even have any parent, mom or dad, that can be present. We have one and not the other. And I love this, that it says that God says, I will be a father to you, and you will be my sons and daughters. I have found this to be, even though I have both of my parents, there are times where I can even try to put unrealistic expectation on my own parents that's impossible of fulfillment, because hello, they're humans. But I have found people that didn't have a mom or a dad, or both, or one or the other, and they got that relationship from the Lord, and God became a father to them. And then, because it was something that they desired, God then brought men and women in their life to be a spiritual mom or a spiritual father. And I've even seen grandparents do this as well, where, you know, girls didn't have, you know, a strong spiritual background or family, and then it's been so sweet to see how the Lord has brought people in their lives to be that person. But number one, as we talked about this last week, God's got to be priority, and when you put God first above every relationship, all these other relationships will fall into place. But he's warning us here in 2 Corinthians is, listen, leave the corruption and compromise. You know, when it comes to relationships, one of the things I asked myself, I've done this years ago, it's like a math problem. Well, it's not really a math problem, but I would write out the adding, the subtracting, multiplication, and division. And I would write out the people that were in my life at the time. What are they adding to my life? What are they subtracting from my life? What are they multiplying to my life? And what are they dividing from my life? Are these friendships, family or friends, are they pulling me towards God, or are they pulling me away from God? Are they peaceful to be around, or are they so much drama to be around? And I would kind of do an assessment. Then I would put myself through those things. Okay, how am I being to these people? And I would do it myself. Then on some of them, I would ask them, hey, is there anything that I can be doing to be a better friend to you? Now, this is not something you just want to ask just anybody, because then people can just really criticize you and make you feel this big, you know, and whatever. I'm talking about people that love you and care for you. I do this still with my husband, sometimes with my sister and my close girlfriends. Hey, is there anything I can do for you as a friend that I can do better? Is there something as a friend that I'm doing that I don't need to be doing? And I've had this happen where some of my friends did something really upset me, and they recognize it, and they apologize. It's over and done with. And to me, if we can't be on, and I've done the same thing to people, but it's important, if we can't be honest, what kind of relationship is that? If we just tell people what they want to hear, how is that going to grow? How is that going to help us? Excuse me. And in 2 Corinthians 6:14-18, there's so much about this. You know, can light be best friends with dark? This is not saying we've got to go out into the world, and we've got to go out there and share Jesus with people, but it's going to be very hard to be very close best friends with someone that completely wants nothing to do with God, if that's what you're trying, if that's the journey that you're on. And so it's important that you understand that if I want to be in the relationship that God's called me to be, I need to do that assessment. I need to see, where are my friendships? Do I need to set boundaries? And what's hard is when you haven't set boundaries in friendships and relationships, and you start to set boundaries in relationships and friendships, that can be really difficult, but you have to learn, okay, I need to set boundaries here. Before I got married, I had girls over at my house all the time. When I became married, I didn't have girls over at the house all the time. I'm married now. You know, I was a single female youth pastor for years, so everything, my whole life was girls and church and having girls over and doing sleepovers and talking about God, and all hours of the night, baking, cooking, sharing just have an awesome Jesus. I mean, I loved that so much. But when I got married, I had to have boundaries in place. And that was really, really hard for me. Some of the girls were like, do you not like us anymore? What's wrong? I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. I want to have you over, but I'm married and I have to set boundaries. And and they understood that as I got older than they got older. But sometimes setting boundaries can be uncomfortable, even with family. It's like, okay, well, you've seen me, you've known me, there's that familiarity there. But this is where we're crossing, like, we don't cross this line here. With in-laws, with parents, it's, I've seen this in married couples. They don't just ask their parents much their opinion. It's, now that we're grown, we inform our parents of what we're doing. And that can be an adjustment as well. But it's important that you understand that God can be a father to the fatherless. He can help you. He can love on you. He can be that strength that you need. In your life that maybe you feel like you didn't have from a person. But I just think 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 18 is so good, because it just, especially in the message, it just so clearly talks about, you've got to look at your relationships in your life and see, okay, where is this relationship going? And then ask yourself, because a lot of times we stay in these dysfunctional relationships just because we've been in them for so long, we don't know how to get out of them, and we don't want to get out of them because we're comfortable. Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. Friendships are so important. And I've got certain friendships that are more like sister friends to me, that they're closer than a friend. They're like a sister. And I'm so thankful for the friends that God's brought. And even with my family, I look and see how God supernaturally put our family together, the Carr family. I look and see how God's brought my husband. I see how God's brought even some girlfriends that I would have never thought in a bazillion years that we would be friends. But the Lord spoke to me, this is a girl I brought to you as a gift to you. And that's one of the things I've seen in my 31 years, is that a lot of times when God truly wants to bless you, He'll send you a person. He'll send you friends. It's not just about the money and the stuff and the promotion, although those things can be nice. But man, what's all that if you don't have true godly friendships? And so I'm so thankful for my family and for the friends that God has brought me. And a lot of times when God does things, He packages things in a way that we might not have picked for ourselves. But man, when we receive that gift from God, we receive the gift of friendship, man, it's just beautiful to see then how that relationship begins to blossom over the years. So I'm very thankful. Proverbs 13:20 says, become wise by walking with the wise. Hang out with fools and watch your life fall to pieces. I don't want to be hanging out with no fools all the time and wondering why I'm not growing and why I'm not, where I feel like I could be. I want to hang out with wise people. I want to, and again, this is not saying I'm not going to witness to people and share Jesus with people, but I'm talking about the people that I consider my friendships, my relationships, my family, that I want to be wise by walking with wise people. Something I want to share in closing: seasons change, people change, and you're going to change. Pay attention to who and what you're investing your time in, and who's investing in you. Just because someone has been close to you in the past doesn't mean they'll be close to you in the future. Your relationship to them may be different than their relationship to you. This again goes in family and it goes in friendships. Family, sometimes you might have a rift. I know for my sister and I, for years, my fault, I wasn't close to her because I was caught up in my own world and doing my own thing and just being very self-centered, that I completely ignored my sister when she really needed me. And I wish I could go back and change that, but I can't. Now we're great. But there was always this kind of dysfunctional relationship that we had, and we had to work together. It couldn't just be me telling her I'm sorry 1,000 times. She had to get to the place where she could forgive me and we could move on, and that we could build a relationship. And sometimes, we're trying so hard to make a relationship work that sometimes you just need your space. As family, you're just like, okay, we just need some space right now. We aren't seeming to understand each other right now, so let me just take a break. And same thing sometimes with our friendships, is that just because I've been friends with you for my whole life doesn't mean we'll be friends for forever. My mother-in-law has had the same friend since she was like way small. I'm like, that's just so not normal, of the friendships that she has. And I think it's great. I love watching them together, but not everybody has that. And so in our relationships, give other people time to grow, give yourself room to grow. And if you just have to take a step back and just kind of reassess some things and ask for people to help you, ask people that have some wisdom on, hey, here's my relationships. Can you help give me some practical things that, I can do to help me have healthy relationships? Because I personally want to be healthy in my spirit, soul, and body. I want my relationships to be balanced. I want my relationships to be healthy, but I can't just expect that from them. I have to do my part with family and even with my friends. And so do that assessment. See who's adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Run through those things with your friends, your family, run that with you. And just know that relationships are worth having, but you choose. I mean, we can't choose the family we were brought into, but we can choose our friends, and we can choose even with our family, especially if you don't live with your family right now, where's the boundaries going to be? How often, where Holy Spirit help me, show me how to make these boundaries so I can have healthy relationships. So I hope you're encouraged. Listen, there's no perfect relationship ever. But I wanted to give you some tools and some scripture just to kind of help you on just looking at your relationships in general and having the Holy Spirit just kind of help you navigate so you can have great relationships. Because I believe God doesn't want us to have good relationships. He wants us to have godly and great relationships that can help further His kingdom together. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be back next week, and we're going to be talking about dating relationships and just a little bit of marriage. I've only been married for 3 years, but I do have a couple of things that I feel like I can share. Not a whole lot, but a couple of things. And so I will see you next week when we talk about dating and marriage.